We only have 2 days remaining, or well, I think it's more like a day and a half remaining for the Summer 25 event series and also the Slingshot named SMG. Now, this is the brand new named UMP that was introduced into the game about a week ago, and we only have a few more days that it is actually available to grab. So in today's video, I will show you footage of me getting this weapon. I will show you which ones to go for, how to obtain it, how to farm for it, and so much more. That way, in my future build videos for this weapon, you know exactly why I'm choosing these variants for each of those builds. So, let's break it down. The Slingshot. What's going on, YouTube? Kamikazevondoom here with another Division 2 video, so sit back, relax, grab that popcorn, don't forget to hit that like, subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know what you think in the comment section below, and finally, shout out where you're from. It's cool to see where everyone is from. Now, the Slingshot is available right now via the Loot Goblin, so check this out. Alright, fast travel, Jefferson trade. We should get it on the first pull, so it shouldn't be bad. I have my world difficulty setting to heroic with all directives just to increase my chances. So let's see what we get from the Loot Goblin. Alright, is my controller messed up? Oh, okay, there we go. Run! Alright, so what I do is I run to the white car, and then I double back to the blue car, and... Nope, yep, there he is. Alright, Loot Goblin, a.k.a. the Hoarder. Alright, here we go. We have the handbasket, the... Oh, man, we don't even have it. Alright, hold on. Let me, I'll be right back. Alright, what do they typically say? They say, second time's the charm? No. Yeah, whatever. We got this. Alright. Take 2. That never happened. Oop, we're in a little glitchy safe area. That was weird looking. Alright, so again, Jefferson Trade Center, heroic 5 directives. That never happened. We'll edit that out. Alright, run over here to the white car. Run over here to the blue. And, oh, yep, there he is. Whenever your HUD pops up, you know he's spawning. Alright, here we go. First sight. There it is. Slingshot. But what am I looking for whenever farming for the Slingshot? Let's discuss. And there we have it. The Slingshot available from the Loot Goblin. Now let's talk about this bad mamma jamma. But first, hold on. Actually, the only way that you can get it from the Loot Goblin is to be on day 7 of the Summer 25 event. And as of, me making this video, you still have a day and 7 hours to do this. So all you have to do is complete day 7 of your project series and then go farm the Loot Goblin. It's really that simple. Now, where I was on the map farming them is over here. So Federal Triangle, spawn at the 1040, log out, log back in, go to Jefferson Trade Center. You're going to run to that car over here, and then run back to the car over here, and he will spawn. If not, log out, log back in. You'll spawn over here at the 1040, fast travel to Jefferson Trade, and do it again. He will spawn. Now, I do have other spots like DZ South and DCD where I find the Loot Goblin, but my number 1 spot is Jefferson Trade Center. Now, getting the Slingshot is one thing. The other thing is getting the right one. So what do I mean by the right one? Well, there are certain attributes and certain talents that you are going to want for this weapon. This is not the best weapon in the world. It is not even close. But depending on how you use it, could make it a little bit better than what people might think. I mean, yeah, on paper, this thing is crazy. It's like a sniper, but a SMG version, but it's really not worth it. And I'll explain all of that in this video. So let's go ahead and look at this bad boy. This is the one that I just picked up from the Loot Goblin. Now, the optimal range on here is insane in the membrane, and, well, that's for a reason. I have an optimal range build on just to show you how insane you can get this weapon, all right? So, just from the, let's see here, the one that we just picked up, right? So that had streamline on it. Here we go. So let me just put optimal range, and let me just show you how ridiculously stupid you could get this thing. Because you can get this over the range of an actual sniper. So for this, I'm actually going to go weapon handling. For this, I'll go accuracy. I'll do a little bit more optimal range. And what can I do down here? Stability. Nah, we'll go more rounds. Okay? So just based off of that, and I'm not even putting optimal range right here, which I could, and look at that. Now it's at 206. Holy guacamole, Batman. So I just got the Slingshot to a 206 optimal range. Now this is what makes the Slingshot so unique, is that it has an increase to optimal range that is abnormal compared to all the other variants. And you can see that under the core stats where the optimal range color of the font is different from all the other core stats. And that's to signify that, you know, this is a named core stat. So this 206 for optimal range. This might look insane, and because it is, normally, just normally, you would have like a 30 optimal range. So look at this. So compared to the Nemesis Sniper, the Slingshot has more optimal range, which is completely a gimmick. There's no reason for your SMG to be able to shoot further and have more optimal range than a sniper. Because A, you're not going to be able to hit your target like that with an SMG. B, there's let me just show you. Because I was about to come out with this build breakdown and do like a whole build video on this. But then the more I was looking into it, it's like even if I increase the optimal range to some absurd amount, it's not worth it for this weapon because you're not going to hit anything. And if you do, it's not going to be nearly at the accuracy that you would want. So you see here? I mean, yeah, I'm hitting it. Let me see. Let me see if I can actually be very accurate with it. Watch me eat my own words right here, and then all of a sudden we have a sniper SMG. Let's see. So at 200 optimal range on a Slingshot, I mean, we're not... You see, that was a whole magazine, and we didn't even get all of the armor bar down. Here, let me show you again. So you see the armor bar, it's completely full on that elite. Yeah, check this out. Watch the armor bar. I'm trying to hit it. I can't even get there. There we go. I got it down to a quarter armor. Let's try again. Dude, this thing is bouncing everywhere. Hold on, let me try again. But I think I'm making the case. It's not worth it. Okay? Now, if you go to, let's just do 15 meters. Okay? 15 meters. Now, with this one, I should be able to take out the enemy completely. And this is the difference between 50 meters and 15 for an SMG, right? So, right here, booyah. You can see, yep, I took him out 2.5 times. Where the other one, I couldn't even get the entire armor bar down. This enemy, I'm able to take out 2.5 times. So I can show that again. And these are just chest shots. Body shots. Yeah. And then I come back over here, and then you can see the accuracy is not going to... I mean, oh, I got it. Oh! I almost got the armor bar down. Almost. It's just, in my opinion, it's not worth it. And for that reason, you would not want optimal range as that bottom attribute at all. There's no reason for it at all. And in fact, if you're going to run this sort of build, you want no optimal range under the attachments either. You would just want just straight up damage, or you would go weapon handling, accuracy, just so that you hit your shots. Because the thing about this SMG, it's not so much the optimal range that's an issue. It's clearly not. What's the issue is actually hitting your target with that optimal range. Because, yeah, cool, you can shoot your SMG further than a sniper. But are you going to one-tap them in the head like a sniper? No, you're not. So for that, and it being an SMG, that's not really the avenue you want to go. So right off the bat, I would take optimal range off and probably go weapon handling. I would take optimal range off the muzzle and probably go accuracy. Just that way I have more of a laser beam, and then I can just focus on hitting my target. And then what I would do is I would take off optimal range as that bottom attribute and probably go damage to targets at a cover, which we could go ahead and talk about right now. Now, with all of those changes, we dropped it down to a 132 optimal range. Now, this might sound familiar because it's the exact same as the sniper. So even with me taking all those optimal range things off, we still have the same optimal range as a sniper on this SMG. And that's why I'm saying it's overkill to even try to run it with optimal range, because you already have it for this SMG and you don't need anything more for that. Now, the next part is talking about these attributes and the talents, okay? Because we can already see that the optimal range is not an issue for this. So what is an issue? The issue is the damage, the RPM, and the talent. So which talent will increase your damage to its, its fullest potential? Which build will help out increase your RPM and your damage to match, because this weapon is really lacking in both of those. Now you can see just sitting here, we have a 650 RPM. That's very slow. That's slower than the capacitor. That's slower. Let's see here. Boop-a-doo. That is... Oh, and then I have all these slingshots. Oh, man. This is going to be a good video. All right. So it's slower than all the other weapons I'm using outside of my rifles and snipers. Okay? So 650 right off the bat, very low RPM. So you need to have something to bump that RPM up. So there's a few different ways you could do this. Now, you could do this by just changing the bottom attribute to rate of fire right here. You can get 5%. But all that does is it puts you from a 650 to a 682. It's still slower than the capacitor. It's still slower. All of these weapons. So, in my opinion, you don't want to sacrifice your damage in that bottom attribute for the rate of fire, unless you're doing like a full rate of fire build. So, let me show you what I mean. So, I believe I have one. Here we go, rate of fire. And I'm pretty sure I already have a build for it. Let's see here. There we go. And then make sure I have the one with rate of fire again right here. There we go. And then for that, you want weapon handling, probably accuracy, and not optimal range. We probably want to go accuracy or crit chance, something like that there as well. Now, this is just a RPM build through and through. So sitting here just at the base, we're sitting at a 780 for the RPM. Now, that sounds a little bit better, right? Because remember, the capacitor was sitting at 700. Now it's at 805 because of the build we're running. But this is now above the capacitor shooting. And it has a bigger magazine, right? That's what she's anyways. So the rate of fire on this build looks good, but it gets even better because we're running the max rate of fire build. Now, if you don't know what this is, I've made several build videos using this build in different weapons, because this is the only way in the game of reaching the highest RPM. So what do I mean by that? Well, there is a striker RPM gain from the gear set bonus, but then there's also a RPM bonus from the Umbra. So what we're doing is we're combining the striker RPM bonus and the Umbra RPM bonus at the same time using the Ninja Bike messenger bag. And then here is your final result. And it sounds amazing, right? It sounds really good. Not only that, but I mean, we're hitting for okay numbers. But again, this is like a tank build, but it's an RPM build through and through. So let me show you what I mean by that. So ooh, that's only showing 780. Hold on, hold the phone. Is it showing my crit? It's showing my crit. Let me see if I can pull up that RPM. There we go. So the RPM is over 1,000 using this build setup. Now this is with rate of fire as that bonus, as that bottom attribute. This is with the Umbra stacks and the striker all at the same time. So it is possible to get this RPM up to where it's fun, right? Because I mean, over 1,000 RPM and you're hitting this hard, I mean, it is a lot of fun. I also showed you the high crits and all of that. I mean, and a 60 optimal range, right? 60. That's 4 times the Ouroboros. 4 times the Ouroboros. I mean, that's double the capacitor. That's double the St. Elmo's. I mean, we're getting some crazy optimal range here. And now we're getting the crazy RPM to match. So this is a good setup that you could use. Now, the only problem I'm having here is that rate of fire. So the rate of fire for that bottom attribute, it's only 5%, and for me, it's just not worth it. Because we are sacrificing damage to targets at a cover. I mean, I think that's 10%. Let me see. Yeah, that's 10% damage to targets at a cover we are losing because of that RPM or that rate of fire roll. So what I would do is I would stick with this build setup, which is a great build setup, and I'm going to do a full build video on this, obviously. And what I would do is have a different version with damage to targets at a cover. You could do streamline, you could do flatline. I mean, these are things that we need to talk about right now, because you also have something like Optimist, Ranger, or Sadist. But in my opinion, these are all different, situations that would dictate, what talent or what attribute to go for. Now, if you're trying to go full RPM, full tilt, obviously you do the max RPM build with the rate of fire as that bottom attribute, but you are missing a lot of damage. So let me just show you my example here as how much damage you're losing. Is if you were to just hit them right here in the chest, what is that? 498 is the highest. I can see there, 498. Yeah, so 498. Now, if I were to change this to, like, say, let's do damage to targets out of cover and streamline, right? That 498. Yeah, look at that. That 498 just turned into a 626. Now, that's because of not only the bottom attribute, but the talent. So let me show you the difference just from that bottom attribute, right? So here's that rate of fire slingshot again, and I'll show you the 498. Oh, we got it up to 501. Okay. But now, watch this. So I could change that rate of fire over to damage to targets at a cover, and that over 1,000 RPM drops. Let me see if I can get it to work again. So it's showing the crits. Hold on. I got it. So we're actually still over 1,000 RPM. So same weapon, Optimist, same attachments, same build, and we're still over that 1,000 RPM. And that's why I would say don't do that rate of fire for the bottom attribute unless you're trying to show what it looks like fully maxed out, because you're going to be losing a lot of damage. So that 501 with the rate of fire, that was the highest I saw. Let's see now. So that 501, and you can see, look at that, 551. So we just increased our total damage per bullet by over 10%. And that's just from that bottom attribute. So then, right? So we're talking about our bottom attributes. Which attribute should you go for the slingshot, and which one should you stay away from? All right. Damage to armor, perfect. You could run that with Walker Harris 2-piece and the contractor's gloves, and you could do a full max damage to armor build. Hint, hint, wink, wink. I'll probably do one in the future. You could go health damage, but in my opinion, I would say stay away from that because health damage only affects the health bar. And a lot of enemies, a lot of players, just overall, all of your enemies are going to have an armor bar of some sort unless you're just going up against all normal red bar enemies, which is rare unless you're just running normal or story mode. But even then, you're still going to run into some purples and some elites, and they're going to have armor. So the health damage is not really that great, in my opinion. You could go headshot, but a headshot build on an SMG is just not as popular, I would say, as like a bighorn headshot build or like a sniper build or like a rifle headshot build. You don't typically put headshot builds and SMGs together. It's just not. It's not that viable. It's not that sustainable as like a AR or rifle, marksman rifle, those type of things. So I would probably stay away from the headshot. Crit damage. Now this one's not bad. You could go for a full max crit build with improvised pieces, with the firewall attachment and everything, and just see how high you could get that crit damage. You could do that. But again, that's going to be more of like a gimmick because the damage to targets out of cover hits harder and it applies to all of your damage, where the crit damage will only apply to crit hits. So you have to make sure you're critting the whole time to take advantage of that crit damage. Now, going into the yellow attributes, none of these are really useful. Reload speed, stability, accuracy, optimal range, none of these are useful. Now, yeah, you could get more optimal range, but like I already showed you, it's not that viable because you're not going to be able to hit your bullets like you would with a sniper at the same range. So I would stay away from all the yellow bottom attributes. Now, magazine size, that could help you out. I know a lot of people don't like their magazine size to be, like below 50 or, whatever. Um, yeah, you could, but in my opinion, it's not really going to help you out with this weapon unless you're using. I don't know. I can't really think of a good reason to do that. Maybe like a true patriot, maybe like a Brazos. I don't know, magazine size, but what's the purpose of that? I don't really see that being a big player for this weapon. Rate of fire, like I showed you, you're losing over 10% of your overall DPS just from using rate of fire. It does look cool, but you're not hitting that hard compared to something like damage to targets out of cover. And finally, swap speed. We're not using like a versatile gunslinger build or anything like that. We don't really care about swapping our weapon, so that one's not going to really be a player either. So, what is a player? Well, damage to targets out of cover, damage to armor, maybe crit damage. These are going to be your big hitters. Um, Everything else is just not really going to be that viable. I mean, maybe if you're like a headshot freaking magician and you hit nothing but headshots, you could do that. But even then, I like the 10% damage to targets out of cover better than all of these attributes. So if you're going to go for anything, I would say go for damage to targets out of cover for that bottom attribute, and then change your talent to whatever it is you want. So for example, there's this one. I have damage to targets out of cover for the bottom attribute on this slingshot, and then I'm able to change my talent to whatever it is I want. And this is what I highly recommend you do for the slingshot. Farm it today and make sure you get one with damage to targets out of cover for that bottom attribute. That way you can change your talent to any talent for any build at any time. So say you want to run a bleed build, okay, well then go with sadist. Say you want to go with like a crazy RPM build, you could do that with measured. Maybe you want to go with like a streamline build, or maybe today you want to use it for a skill build with in sync. There's so many different ways. You could use this on a burn build with ignited. You could use it with trauma and eyeless. There's ranger, but in my opinion, that goes with the optimal range. And if you're not going to hit your shots, ranger is not really going to help you. Sadist would work amazingly for bleed builds or trauma builds as well. Close and personal is okay. Now, the cool thing about close and personal is that you just have to get the one kill within 7 meters, and then for that 10 seconds, there's no range associated with that weapon damage increase, so you could then shoot all the other enemies around you and get that 30% weapon damage. But again, you do have to proc that by killing an enemy within 7 meters. Strained. A lot of people like strained, okay? Let's look at strained. So strained, this one, it is gains 10% crit damage for every 0.5 seconds you are firing. So right off the bat, you need to keep your RPM low. So let's just put that on like a normal DPS build. Let's see here. Slingshot. I had it with strain right there. Booyah. Okay. So with a normal RPM of 650, that would be optimal for that talent of strained. Because what it does is it goes off of how fast you're firing your weapon, and that will then give you all of these stats. You can see for like the last 13 bullets, we're at max stats here. 16 bullets actually. Hold on, let me see. Let's see the exact amount. Ooh, I got it in 17. Let's see if I can stop it. 20. All right. So we got it at 20 bullets left. And then that gives you the max crit for that entire thing. So just for example, let me just see based off of... All right, so a 974 crit. And then let's max that sucker out. So 974, and then 1,054,000. And that's with strained fully active. Okay? So that's 1,054,000. Now, if you were to say, I don't know, let's use Optimist again. Optimist, and we're trying to beat 1,054,000. And we don't. We don't even get close. We get to 1,029,000. So right off the bat, strained would be better than Optimist on a normal slingshot. So then we could go with, but see, Ranger's not going to work unless you're far away. So let's just say you're running into the enemy. 1,029,000 is from Optimist. Yeah, see, we're hitting 920. Yeah. Range isn't going to work unless you're far away from everyone. And we all know how the rushers like to screw that up. But let's try Streamline. So I think 1,054,000 was with strained. There we go. 1.1. 1.139. And then drops down for the health damage. Look at that. Not bad at all. And that's with Streamline. Okay. So then what you could do is, well, you could change that to Flatline. Let me see if I could just put a pulse on really quick and show you with Flatline. Oh, actually, I could just change it on this one. Flatline. Booyah. Now, Flatline amplifies your weapon damage to pulsed enemies, right? So let's just put on a Scanna, and I'll show you this one. Okay, let me get some ammo. Now, Streamline is the #1 so far with 1139. Then we had Strained. And we're just on a DPS build, right? I'm not trying to stack up anything. And then here is Flatline. Ooh, I mean, Flatline hits pretty damn hard. Pretty damn hard. I mean, it's a little bit less than Streamline. But remember, now I can use all of my skills. And that one hit pretty damn... I mean, it's... 11, 21. And then let's do Streamline again. But remember, Streamline, you're not allowed to use any of your skills. So none of that matters. I would probably go Flatline, just to let you know. 1121, 1139. So we're missing 18,000 per bullet. I mean, that's very, very small, considering the amount of things you have to sacrifice not being able to use any skills. So out of all of these, to be honest with you, I'd use Flatline. I'd use Flatline. Because you can also use the long underbarrel rail attachment slot, and it gives you that linked laser pointer. So it's right here. The technician laser pointer pulses your enemy when you aim at them. So we're able to pulse them immediately, get that amplified damage immediately, and still be able to use our skills like our shield or our hive or seekers or pulse, whatever. It doesn't matter. And that's the glorious part of it, is that there are no like strict guidelines when you're using Flatline, because you just aim your weapon and you're good to go. Where Streamline, you can't use any skills or shields or anything at all. So as far as the Slingshot, I would go with damage to targets at a cover for that bottom attribute. And then as far as the talents are concerned, Killer is a good one as well. But remember, you have to kill an enemy with a crit hit to proc this. So right off the bat, I'm not a big fan. Preservation will definitely work for your survivability builds, and I'm actually going to try this one out with a special build and maybe have like the mop or something as my secondary. We'll see. Optimist is okay, but I would not use Optimist when you have something like Strained, where Strained, like I just showed you, it procs at like halfway in your magazine. So the second half of your magazine, you get the full max potential of Strained. So that could really be useful. Close and personal is not bad, but close and personal hits just like, well, actually less than Optimist. And close and personal only procs when you kill an enemy within 7 meters, and it's only for 10 seconds. So after the 10 seconds, you'd have to find another enemy within 7 meters to proc it all over again. So those, stipulations and, requirements, I'm not a big fan of it. Now, Sadist. Sadist is amplified damage. This one is super strong. This one would hit somewhat the hardest, but that would only be on a bleed build. So you would have to use something like Trauma or Ridgeway's Pride, maybe the Stinger Hive, Explosive Seeker Mine, something to catch the enemy on a bleed. But also remember that Sadist only works as they are bleeding. The second that the bleed status is gone, you would lose this amplified damage. So that's why I keep going back towards Flatline for this weapon, because all the other ones are good, but they have certain prerequisites and certain requirements that are needed that a lot of people might, be like pushed away from, because it's like, well, now you're telling me I have to play it this way, and yeah, it is what it is. Ranger, in my opinion, is not worth it. You're not going to hit your bullets at long range. Like, yes, you can hit enemies at that range, but is it worth it? No. Eyeless, I would rather have Sadist than Eyeless, in my opinion. Ignited only if you're using like a full-on burn build, but if you're going to do that, just put on the Pyromaniac, because that gives you more amplified damage. In Sync could work, but I would probably go with like the Test Subject or the Harmony and get perfectly in sync if you're going to go that route. Streamline is a heavy freaking hitter. Streamline hits extremely hard and it's really fun, but you are not allowed to use any of your skills at all. It will deactivate this talent. So I would be warned. And, well, that's really about it for the talents. So, long story short, damage to targets out of cover and Flatline seem to be the best one, the most player-friendly, and it gives you the most damage with the least amount of effort. There's no killing to proc it. All you're going to do is either use a scanner pulse, use, the sharpshooter drone, or you could just use the linked laser pointer like I showed you. But either way, that would be the setup for this weapon. I would not go into optimal range at all. You don't need it. I mean, even just sitting here, let's put crit damage on here. Even just sitting here, we're at a 60 optimal range when you could compare that to all these other weapons, and it's just blowing them all out of the water. So even just sitting here, we have the same optimal range as a sniper. I mean, come on. Come on. You don't need to put any more into it. Just have, all your crits or accuracies, what have you, and make this thing a laser beam to take out your enemy. Now, as far as getting this weapon, again, it's through your Summer 25 projects. We only have a day and 7 hours left for this, and then it's going to go away. We're not sure when it's going to come back, but I would assume we're going to have a title update on Tuesday, removing this event and removing the loot goblin from dropping all of these exclusive items. Now, how I have been farming it is just Jefferson Trade Center. So I'm going to do that one last time and get you out of here. But if you found this helpful or informative in any way, shape, or form, hit that thumbs up. Support the channel by subscribing. I am Kamikazevondoom, and I hope to see you in the next one, all right? Peace out and all that jazz. And let's see if I can get the slingshot to drop one last time before we get out of here. So my method, again, 1040 safe house. Go over there, log out, log back in. You'll see this. You'll see a whole bunch of people doing this. And then just go over to Jefferson Trade. Make sure that your global difficulty setting is set to heroic to get the most drops. And then, again, just run over here to the white car. Oh, and he already spawned. There we go. And then you can see I can shoot him from here because of my optimal range. And look at that. We just got another slingshot. This one, optimal range and strained. Nice. But all right, that's it for me. I am Kamikazevondoom. Take care of yourself. See you in the next one. Peace out.